Hey, we know what integers are because we've talked about them already. Integers are made up of our counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., plus that special number 0, and then all of the opposites of our counting numbers. The opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of 2 is -2. The opposite of 3 is -3. So integers are made up of all of these numbers, our counting numbers, 0, and their opposites, otherwise known as whole numbers and their opposites. But what if I told you there was another set of numbers? What? That's right. There's another set of numbers called rational numbers. Now, what are rational numbers? If you look over here, we find out that rational numbers include whole numbers like 1, 5, or 8. Rational numbers also include integers like the numbers -1, -10, or -23. Rational numbers also include all of the decimals and fractions that are between the integers, like 1.2 or 1/2, 4.27 or 3/5. All of those fractional numbers between the whole numbers and between the integers, those are all a part of rational numbers. Let's say I wanted to put all of these numbers in this Venn diagram of rational numbers. I would put all the whole numbers in the inner circle. And don't forget 0 is a whole number too. If I wanted to put the integers in the set of rational numbers in this diagram, they would go in the integer circle. Then if I wanted to add any of my fractions or decimals to this diagram, they would go in the rational number circle. And so when we look at this diagram as a whole, we find out that all the numbers that we work with are rational numbers. You started out working with just whole numbers, but now you're ready to work with more complicated numbers. So we talk about the set of integers, which includes all negative numbers plus the whole numbers. So notice how the whole numbers are also in the integer circle because every whole number is an integer. And now we see that decimals and fractions are also rational numbers. And notice that integers are a part of that rational number circle, and whole numbers are also a part of that rational number circle. All of these numbers are different kinds of rational numbers. One thing that we want you to be able to do is understand that rational numbers can be shown on number lines, just like whole numbers, and just like integers, whole numbers and their opposites. We can also put rational numbers on a number line, which means we can use mixed numbers like -1/2. Maybe you want to do +1/2. Maybe you want to just do 1/2 in general. I have some numbers right here that I want to put on the number line below it. We have 1, -2, 1/2, -3/4, and 1/3. Now, some of these numbers will be easy to graph on the number line, like the number 1, because the number 1 we can see is already on this number line. The number -2 is already on this number line. The number 1/2 is already on this number line. The tricky part is when we get to a number that's not on the number line, like -3/4. I know 0 is right here, and if I move to the left, I come here to -1/2, and then when I keep on going, I come to -1. Now I know -3/4 is somewhere between -1/2 and -1. So sometimes you will just have to estimate where a number is going to go on a number line. And I could also do the same thing here with 1/3. I know that 1/3 is greater than 0, but I also know it's less than 1/2. So I would probably put it about right there. It doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's close. And I could do the same thing with decimal numbers or decimal rational numbers and with whole numbers like number 1. Number 1 I can find on this decimal number line. The number 0.3, well, I need to know what this number line is going up by. It looks like if I start at 0 right here, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1.0. It looks like this is going up by tenths. So 0.3 would be 0.1, 0.2, be right here, 0.3. -1.5 is already there. And then -0.7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0.7 in the negative direction. And there are all my numbers graphed. Now we want you to be able to practice putting fractions and decimals on a number line. In this activity, you are going to basically take a fraction, like let's say -1/2, and figure out where it goes somewhere on this number line. Now we know -1/2 comes somewhere between 0 and -1. So it must be one of these two purple dots. So whichever one you think it is, you're going to put -1/2 in the correct box. I think that this box looks like it's halfway between 0 and -1, so I'm going to put it there. Now, you don't have to write in the box in your slideshow. You're going to be able to drag your -1/2 right over into this box. You won't have to write it all. So good luck and see if you can find which numbers go in those empty boxes. Once you finish the fractions and the fraction number line, we want you to work on the decimal number line. And you can always start with the ones that you feel like are pretty easy to you. For instance, it looks like right here, we have the same number that was on our last graph. We have a number that's halfway between 0 and -1. That would be basically -1/2. As a decimal, that would be -0.5. Do you see it in the numbers above in the green boxes? I do. It's right here. So I would write -0.5 right in this box. You're not going to have to write it. You're going to be able to slide this green box right over into this empty box. So right now, I want you to see if you can find which of those numbers, those decimal numbers up top, fit into all those empty boxes. Now be careful, because in both cases, on your previous number line with fractions and on this number line with decimals, you've actually got more numbers than you have empty boxes. And so you're not going to use all of them. Good luck. After you finish these two number lines, then I want you to go on to the practice slideshow. Woohoo!